This is Brad Updike. I'm an attorney with the Omaha law firm of Mick Law P.C. We are a 9-attorney law firm that specializes in federal securities law and real estate investment consulting. Today we're going to talk about conservation easements and how they work within the confines of real estate investment programs. First of all, an easement is simply a binding, enforceable set of restrictions upon certain uses of real estate that are put in place through deeds. A conservation easement refers to restrictions that are intended to protect a property's natural habitats and values as natural scenic property. Under a conservation easement, the fee simple owner or the easement grantor retains many non-commercial related rights, such as low impact recreational activities. They can use the property for hunting. They can use it for fishing and camping. Controlled farming is actually allowed, and the property owner can even construct residential buildings and recreational buildings within a very small percentage of the property's area. What's forbidden, however, is the right to exploit the property for commercial uses such as multifamily or subdivision development, engaging in minerals extraction activities or other commercial activities that would harm or impair a property's scenic or habitat values. A conservation-oriented real estate program is one in which a group of investors that are defined as accredited investors under federal securities law, they pool their capital into a pass-through entity. It's usually an LLC that acquires an interest in real estate that has dual functionality commercially and from a conservation perspective. Many of these properties tend to be situated in the southeast region of the U.S., just based upon the immense amount of undeveloped land that's located near urban sprawl communities in that portion of the U.S. The investors of the fund can either decide they can use the property commercially, as we discussed, or they can decide to conserve the property by placing an easement on it. The next question that we're going to talk about is investment suitability. This is a very important question because, as a note of caution to you advisors out there, these programs are very niche-y in terms of suitability. These products are for accredited investors with several million in liquid assets that are being taxed at the very highest federal and state tax rates, i.e. about 40% plus combined, that have very aggressive income tax planning goals and that are not afraid to accept IRS audit risk. In other words, it's a small universe of the accredited investor space, i.e. 10% of perhaps 5% of the whole retail investor universe. The next topic we're going to discuss are the benefits that are involved in conservation-oriented real estate programs. The benefits naturally include ownership of property that has tremendous recreational and conservation value that can be used for hunting, fishing, hiking, camping. Those are all permitted activities. The benefits also include potential income tax deductions that are based upon the property's highest best use, what it can be used for commercially. The deduction is equal to the fair market value of the cash flows that are sacrificed by placing an easement on the property and by giving up those commercial development rights. So everything that we've talked about, in light of everything that we've talked about, the red flags of these types of investments would again stem from the fact that it's a very niche product from a suitability perspective. Again, this is a product that's suitable for a very small percentage of the retail investor universe that has very considerable liquid net worth, that has income in excess of $500,000, maybe taxable upwards, and that's not afraid of the IRS audit risk. And then even if you have somebody that's fits within that small universe of the retail investment sector. You still have to undertake careful due diligence of these products to make sure that the transactions fit within the Code 170H regulations. A lot of things have to go right, and most importantly, the proposed development option for the property that's described in the investment memorandum, it has to make sense, or you're basically just selling tax deductions, which is not permitted. It has to be real estate that can actually be developed. The option actually has to make sense to a reasonable group of investors. So you have to look at the zoning of the property. Is it zoned properly for the type of development that's described in the offering memorandum? Is financing in place that would allow for the development to take place if the investors wanted to develop the property? Do you even have a sponsor with relevant development experience that is able and capable of doing the development if the investors want to go in that direction? And then you also have to look at the organizational documents to make sure that the investors are afforded reasonable investment related rights that would otherwise be provided in a retail real estate program outside of the conservation-oriented real estate world. So you have to consider all of that in the due diligence process. One last parting note, we're going to talk about the upcoming FINRA notice to members that may be coming out very soon, just based on our own conversations with certain of FINRA's executive management. It's under our understanding that a FINRA notice or guidance is going to be coming out that discuss conservation-oriented real estate programs. Without having a crystal ball, my gut feeling tells me that development feasibility, which we just discussed, and sponsor compensation may be addressed within that FINRA guidance. So it's important that we have properties and programs where the real estate can actually be developed, where development makes sense. And then I think we also need to start taking a look at the level of sponsor compensation of in these deals, and we need to look at whether it's reasonable in relation to what sponsors would generally otherwise receive in a investment program if it wasn't conservation oriented in nature. This is Brad Updike of Mick Law P.C. Thank you for tuning in.